Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Richard Allen is somebody that we're just interested to know more about. This video is going to be a video that discusses more about like where he worked, where he lived, the distances he lived from the bridge, how he would have got to the bridge, what's the most likely route that he would have gone, how did he get home, maybe why he did this, what was he doing for work, and where did he live prior, etc. Okay, so here we go. Richard Allen, I guess apparently at one point in his life was in the military. Don't really know all about all of that, but I'm more focusing on what he was doing more recently. So he lived in a town called Mexico, Indiana, up until 2006, and then he moved to Delphi, Indiana, and he moved into a house at 1967 Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Indiana, zip code 46923, and that house is right there. Now there's no street view here. I did drive by there, and I have video of driving back here and then turning around and coming back out. The place that he worked was CVS Pharmacy, which is right here. Now in this case there is street view we can take a look at. Go down to here. He worked at the CVS Pharmacy here as a technician. He was a pharmacy technician, but he got that license in 2017. Now, did he get that license after the murders, or did he have it early on in the year? We do know, I believe it was Tara German who said that she went to get the funeral photographs developed there, and believes she remembers that it was Richard Allen who gave her back those photos. I mean, how creepy is that Richard Allen, the killer of Abby and Libby, was looking at those same photographs of the victims that he killed. Now, if you don't believe he's the killer, that you can do whatever the hell you want, I believe he is. His home again is right here. Now, the route that he got to the bridge that day is probably a route like this, but I'll go over that in a minute. His house, if you go with a distance to the cell tower, is 1.77 miles to the cell tower by Ron Logan's property. So this is Ron Logan's property right in this area, or was. He passed away from COVID. This was the cell tower right here. And he lives 1.77 miles. Now if we take that line to the bridge, it is only 1.24 miles, so 1.25 miles from his house to the bridge, if you were just flying there as a crow flies. And generally use this April 2017 shot right here. So yes, 1.25 miles from his house to the bridge. What's interesting too is if you take the straight line from his house to the cell tower, which is right up in here again, it goes right over the center of the bridge. So if he's walking on the bridge, this cell tower would, ping off of that tower. Even if he was at his house, it would ping in the same direction. Now, apparently, the ping, the amount of time it takes for the ping might determine the distance. Now, Richard Allen claims that he was looking at the stock ticker while he was walking on the path when he was talking to Dan Doolin. He said he was looking at a stock ticker. So that would mean that his phone would ping off of a tower, and there should be a record of that. Now, I noticed that in the 2022 interview in October, he said that he went to the bridge and he was looking at fish. He didn't talk about how he was on his phone, so he may have realized that the original time that he said he was looking at a stock ticker was a lie. Likely he would have left his phone at home, you would think, unless he took a burner with him. And so then in 2022, he would then feel obligated in his own mind to not mention anything about a phone to see if they didn't remember that he said that the first time. So he leaves his house and he goes on Whiteman Drive, then heads east on West 200 North, and then when he gets down here to, or west over to North 450 West, he would go north, and then at West 300 North, take a left and start heading west. And then going this direction. Right here you have to realize that you have to stay on West 300 North by making this turn. If not, you'll be on North 575 West. And then when you're heading this direction, you pass the Mears property, and then you go by the Hoosier Harvest Store. Now, a vehicle matching Richard Allen's vehicle drove by the Hoosier Harvest Store at 127. And then he drove this direction, and he parked his vehicle, backed it in. All right, we know all the other information from the videos that I've done. He encountered the 3 girls. He makes his way here. Betsy Blair passes AbbyandLibby as she makes her way here, goes this direction. Then AbbyandLibby, the next person they're going to run into is Richard Allen. And even Richard Allen's temporary attorney the other day said that, yeah, I mean, the evidence shows that Richard Allen was, on the trails during the time of the murders. So the 12 to 1:30 time is out the window that Richard Allen tried to sell later on. So then we know that the girls were taken across the creek and they were killed. And then there's a sighting up here by perhaps Sarah Carbaugh that saw him walking muddy and bloody. And then he makes his way back to his vehicle at some point. I don't really even care about the Sarah Carbaugh sighting because there is a person on the bridge and they got out of there somehow, right? So there's a car backed in here at the abandoned CPS building. Richard Allen said it was the abandoned or the old Farm Bureau building, which is downtown Delphi. We know that doesn't really match saying that you parked your car at an old building and then walked to the Freedom Bridge here. If you parked in downtown Delphi, you would have said, yeah, I parked at the Farm Bureau building in downtown Delphi and then walked through the streets and then walked all the way up there. He didn't say that. He said he walked from the old building straight to the Freedom Bridge and then went to the Monon High Bridge. Now, how did he get home, though? Once he made it back to his vehicle here, did he go up this direction and drive and then go home through the town the normal way, going on Main Street and then likely turning left on South Washington Street, driving by a Marathon gas station that at one point seemed interesting in the case, but apparently that might be something that never happened. Apparently Keegan Kline wanted directions to the Marathon gas station on that very day. And then he would drive down here, take a left on Armory Road, and make his way back to his house. And that's one way he could have done it. And there's the other way, I guess, is that you would perhaps drive back out here somehow. I guess you would go like this underneath and then make your way back out onto the freeway here on Hoosier Heartland Highway, and then maybe you would come up here and take one of these exits like this one right here. You take that exit and then you could drive around up in this area and then cut down and then get right back home again. So that would be pretty simple, actually. Come out, loop around, go back up like this, come out at 218 here, and then just take the right on that other road that we were talking about earlier. So it's North 300 West here, it looks like. And yes, that one takes you all the way back out. Now the one we had earlier was this one right here, where it was North 450 West, but there's no way to get to it from there. I mean, there's ways, like you could drive all the way around like that, but the quickest way would be to take 218, then North 300 West, down straight down until you get to West 200 North. So you come straight down like that, boom, go straight west and go right back to his house. So that wouldn't be difficult. I doubt he went through town. That would be something he wouldn't want to do. So I don't believe he drove his vehicle through the town. But as you can see, it's a perfect location for a killer. I mean, he lives right there. He's familiar with the area, but he blends right in like so many other killers. We don't know if this guy would have turned into a serial killer. We don't know if he is a serial killer, but he seems like he's a serial killer-like person by the way he killed the girls, leaving a signature and artifacts, etc., etc. I mean, we don't know all the information that was at the crime scene because we've only seen there are images out there that show the victims, Abby and Libby, but there might have been other stuff there. Perhaps if they were covered with leaves, for example, maybe they removed the leaves to take the photographs, and maybe those are the photographs that people are seeing. We don't know. All right, so there's what Richard Allen looked like around the time of the murders. See the beard, mustache, that matches generally what people see in the bridge guy image. Now, something that's interesting that I think people should just kind of keep in the back of their mind is that his daughter, there's photographs of his daughter where she's wearing a tie-dye shirt, one of Abby and Libby's memorial tie-dye shirts. Now, everybody in the town had them, so maybe that's not really unusual, but she has she's similar body shape as Libby, and even the same kind of hair color, etc. Now we have this picture, but then another one is this one where the daughter is actually on the very same bridge. Maybe it's a high school graduation picture, something like that. But there you go. I mean, it's just interesting, something to keep in mind. Does it mean something? Is there something that the daughter might know about her dad that maybe she came forward with that we're not aware about at this point? We don't know. So what do you guys think about this? What do you think was the genesis of the tip that made law enforcement look at the database again and find Richard Allen? Do you think it was just as simple as, well, we were just randomly looking through again and voila? Or was there somebody out there that called in a tip and it led to the name Richard Allen? Then they went through and looked at all of their records because they have talked to every single male in Delphi. And they went back and found the reference to Richard Allen and were stunned when he actually admitted to being on the bridge that day from 1:30 to 3:30. And that he passed 3 girls. Those same 3 girls actually mentioned saying they saw him. And then in 2022, he described what he was wearing, which is exactly the same clothing. The light blue pants, the dark blue Carhartt jacket, with a hoodie and some sort of head covering. So what led police to look at that again? Was it somebody in his own family? Was it some friend? Or do you believe it was just randomly going back over it again? Yeah, going through all the information again and again, and then there it was. They had said they had done that before. I remember them saying they did a reset in 2019, and I remember even Carter even said in one of the interviews that we've probably already talked to you, something like that. And how accurate was that, huh? They definitely talked to him. Do you guys think it's possible that even the daughter said something? I mean, the mother, she's trying to get her husband off, even though he confessed to her directly. Probably the defense team sold it to her. Oh, yeah, he's been treated so weird. It wasn't a real confession. He's just mentally ill, etc., etc. Although prior to that, he was doing just fine. It wasn't until after that he acted crazy. So it almost feels like she's willfully trying to get her husband off, even if she thinks he might have something to do with it, which is pretty disturbing. Also, let me know if you guys know when Richard Allen became a pharmacy tech, like what month that was. And before that, I think he was just working the cash register, for example, right? And people saw him. But when you look at Richard Allen just by himself, you can't tell, oh yeah, that's the bridge guy. I mean, when people go, why didn't somebody recognize him? Nobody can recognize that. The image is absolutely blurry. His body shape, when you look at this right here, is very similar to the bridge guy. I mean, that's a back shot of him, but I mean, it looks very, very similar. And there you go right there. So if you just look at those side by side, the shoulders, everything's very, very similar. He's got kind of a longer torso, shorter legs, just like that. You know, the rolling shoulders. I think what we're looking at there is Richard Allen. As a matter of fact, I'm 100% certain it's Richard Allen because of Richard Allen's information that he's given. He is Bridge Guy. So once you realize that he is Bridge Guy, you know it's him. Then where do we go from here? Are there any people out there that think he is Bridge Guy, but he still has nothing to do with the murders? Is there anybody out there? Because if you do believe it is Bridge Guy, as my other videos have proven, then how do you get him disassociated with the homicides? Can you come up with an answer for that? Because if it is him, which I'm 100% certain it is, but I'm saying if for you guys, you know, the ones that don't believe it is, then he's the one that said, guys, down the hill. Now, was that just a friendly gesture in your mind? And at that point, he went off to look for mushrooms and some other killer just happened to be down there? I know there's people that think this guy named Elvis was there, right? This guy, he was in this area at like 7:30, 8 in the morning. And somehow he hung around for 5 hours and he just happened to be over here too. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, everybody. This whole Odinism crap that people are bringing up is insane, but that's not what this video is about. I want you guys to put in the comment section other elements that you've seen and noticed out there that might be relevant to how this is Richard Allen and, you know, some things to think about. We know that they found some items in the yard. They were digging some stuff up when they were over at his house back here. You know, we don't know what those items were. Apparently, maybe it was a pet that was buried. Maybe they took the hair from the pet to compare it to hair at the crime scene. Is that one of the elements in there? We've heard that there was DNA found at the scene, but only had maybe 5 or 6 markers on the body. It was actually on the shoulder of a jacket. That's what I heard early on. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything. And it was just touch DNA. However, if the touch DNA does not exclude Richard Allen, and the way it would work is if it's like 1 in 1,000 on one marker of people who have that, and the next one might be 1 in 10. Well, that'd be 1 in 10,000, but then the third marker, maybe that's 1 in 2, that's 1 in 20,000, and then maybe the next one is 1 in 20, so that would be 1 in 400,000, and so on. So the fifth one might make it into 1 in a million, and then you might say, well, only 1 in a million people have that touch DNA marker at the crime scene, and there's only 5,000 people that live in Delphi, and only 200,000 in the entire area around here. So that would be pretty good circumstantial evidence. And now if you're the pro Richard Allen people, you aren't hearing the bad stuff that the prosecution has. You're just reading the smoke and mirror crap. All of the different Odinists and different theories surrounding that, but you're not hearing the really bad stuff that the defense knows about, but they just want to sell to the public a whole different story. And I think that's why the judge thinks they're being really irresponsible, because the damning evidence is inescapable by Richard Allen and at trial he'll likely be found guilty, and that his attorneys are doing nothing to mitigate that. They're just trying to sell the public a different story to try to get people maybe on the jury that might show up that might be the same kind of wackos that actually believe in the odious stuff, and they'll be on the jury and they'll just be, you know, looking at it from a conspiratorial frame of mind the whole time. But hopefully the information the prosecution has is so strong that even a conspiracy wacko wouldn't be able to find him innocent or, you know, not guilty. And one more thing to talk about is, why was Richard Allen there that day? Did Richard Allen have access to a Dropbox account that perhaps Keegan Kline had, and he was given information that Libby was going to be there? We know that the Keegan Kline's Anthony Schott profile was communicating with Libby right up until the murders. And is it possible that somebody who had access to that told him? So there's really no evidence of it, but he wanted to be there. He seemed to be in a hurry when he passed the 3 girls by the Freedom Bridge. He had his head down and he was in a hurry to get to the bridge. And when he got to the bridge, it's pretty amazing that he got there just maybe 15 minutes before Abby and Libby arrived. He would have got to the bridge at 1:44, the girls probably just before 2 o'clock, and he just happened to be there. Now, the thing is there luck involved in this? So no matter what, the situation regarding Abby and Libby and having nobody else in the park is luck, because he can't control. The killer could not control who would be there. So it just so happened to be that there was nobody in front of the girls, and the person that was behind them was heading away from them, and that's Betsy Blair. So I would imagine after he saw the girls go onto the bridge, he walked by them and gave them an opportunity to get on the bridge, and from a position down the trail, which I've shown for many years now, there's a spot right here where you can see in both directions, almost the exact spot where Betsy passed Abby and Libby. You can see in both directions. So he may have walked back, you know, maybe even right around in this area, and he watched Betsy Blair continue on that direction. Then he knew at that point that there wasn't another soul around, and then he followed the girls across the bridge, and the girls may have even saw him coming when he was back here, and they didn't want to pass him on the bridge, so they continued off to the end of the bridge. It took them quite a bit longer to cross the bridge because Abby had never been on there before. She was walking really slow and methodically, whereas Richard Allen hustled across the bridge. I have a friend that got across the bridge in less than 4 minutes walking. And I think if you're committed and you're not scared, you can get across that bridge in a very short amount of time. And that's exactly what Richard Allen was doing. Or for the people that don't believe it's him, bridge guy. Now there's also people out there that think that Richard Allen got to the bridge, he was on platform 1, and then when Betsy Blair showed up, he followed her to maybe attack her. And I just don't agree with that at all, because this is the part of the trail that people show up on all the time. If she had gone down here, maybe. But I think if he was going to follow her, Betsy Blair, who seemed pretty observant, would have actually noticed or had a sense that Richard Allen was following her. Since she had just seen him, she would have been looking out for that. So I don't agree with that at all. I think that Richard Allen was here. He wanted the girls to feel comfortable. If he was standing here, they might not have gone on the bridge. So he passes them and stands back here somewhere and waits and watches. And then as they go further onto the bridge, he kind of keeps moving a little bit up, and he's aware where Betsy Blair was, and she was walking this direction. Then he follows them across the bridge. So do you think that he was aware that Libby and Abby were going to be there that day, or were they just an opportunistic killing? I mean, he was on there during a day where normally people don't have, there aren't going to be children there. You know, unless Richard Allen was aware that there was a weather makeup day that day, and he thought maybe there'd be some kids there. And if it's not that it was a weather day, and he was just there, then perhaps he was hunting anybody that would have been there. Maybe Betsy Blair could have been a target, except when he saw Abby and Libby coming, he, switched targets. So I don't know for certain if he would have followed Betsy Blair or not, but he also didn't go after the three girls that saw him when he came in. So why didn't he do that? It almost feels like he had a specific target in mind. However, there is no evidence that there's a connection between Keegan Kline and Richard Allen. And that part to me has always been astounding to me. The coincidental element of that a catfishing account that was communicating with Libby, who actually said that, oh wow, they were supposed to meet that day, but she never showed up, never got to meet Libby because another random killer killed Libby and Abby. I mean, that's just really difficult to believe. So let me know in the comments, again, what you think about that. Do you think it was targeted towards Libby and Abby? Or do you think they were just randomly chosen? There's obviously a luck element that nobody was in the park or area right at the time that Abby and Libby were taken across the bridge, or basically they walked across the bridge but taken down the hill and across the creek. And do you think he would have chosen another target that day, or was he just hunting again? Maybe he'd been there multiple other times prior to that and just waited for an opportunity, and today was the day, meaning February 13th, 2017, in Richard Allen's mind. All right, you guys, well, let me know in the comments section what you think, and I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on various elements of the case. There's a whole bunch of just interesting things. I mean, I'll probably make some more of these where I'm just sort of thinking about elements of the case, and you guys can discuss it in the comments section. All right, so thank you all very much for watching. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Also, hit that like button right now. Just do it. All right, thank you.